Hey guys, you know, before I upload these to YouTube, I wanted to discuss one more thing that's kind of been bugging a lot of the MLP staff as of late. Not MLP staff, but the MLP fans. The analysis, the well-renowned analysis in the community, like Dr. Wolf, Lightning Bliss, Map, Silver Quill, Josh Scorcher, you name it. Cartoon Gentleman, the list can go on. To fans like myself and others out there like Dark Horse KC and Brawny Buck and Buck Viewer and what's her name, Patches, I think, Burgundy Patches. There's one thing that a lot of us, and even those on the MLP forums like KH7672 and Truffles and Shooting Star, and just to name a few names, if you will, out there, like Alexander Thorand, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Fire Puppy, and just to name Jerica, that's basically a name except without an A. Starlight Glimmer 15, Twilight Luna, just a lot of the fans overall. This is something that's been bugging him for quite some time, and it was something that, and actually, this is not the first season this has happened. This actually happened last season, and it really got under the skin of a lot of fans. And that is the fact that, why is it when we get to a certain moment in the season, basically a certain moment in the season, why is it that other countries end up showing the episodes earlier than we do? I mean, we live in the U.S., or I live in the U.S., and it seems certain countries outside of us who also air MLP seem to be getting episodes, if not specials, earlier than we do. A prime example of this when it comes to specials was last year, when we had the movie Magic special of Equestria Girls that brought Starlight Glimmer into the Equestria Girls world. Why? Because they wanted to promote selling an Equestria Girls doll version of Starlight Glimmer. And how did the episode end? With Starlight being allowed to stay there for a few more days to learn up on the other side of the other version of Equestria, the more human version. And just like and the reason I bring this up is apparently not just Canada or Australia, but the Netherlands, Poland, Germany, they ended up getting the special earlier than we did in their language, not in the English language, but in their language. And then when it finally ended up being shown early in places like Australia and even Canada, that's when it ended up in English. And the fact is, it wasn't just with that special either. There were episodes of Friendship is Magic that came out earlier too, in Australia, in Canada, and other parts of the world. And one of them was an episode last season that a lot of fans were looking forward to, and because it got shown early, people are already talking about it and praising it, and then praising it even more when it showed up officially here in the U.S. And that was The Perfect Pair, because that was an episode the fandom had been looking forward to since the beginning of the series, or at least somewhat during the early portions of the series. But as time went on, though, last year, things kind of got corrected. I'm guessing Hasbro or DHX got on to these other channels internationally and said, hey, look, don't broadcast these episodes ahead of time, alright? There's a lot of people, there's a huge portion of the fans or viewership in the U.S. that have yet to see them, and they don't need to be spoiled about what's going to happen, so why don't you hold off? And fortunately, I don't know when it happened, but fortunately, I think it was before the season 7 finale, a little before that they did kind of hold off on, like, okay, let's not show these episodes yet, because Australia, Canada, and a few other countries were showing episodes almost immediately, it seemed, right after season 7 went on its summer hiatus. It's like, I wouldn't say immediately, but I'd say maybe a few weeks later. Maybe somebody can correct me, but it was a lot sooner than some people expected, and all of a sudden you had episodes planned for the second half of season 7 airing early in other countries. And it's kind of repeating itself now. There's no joke about that. I mean, it's one thing to take a selected episode from the second half of the season, in this case season 8, and air it as part of a summer surprise theme month on your channel, like Discovery Family did with Yakety Sax. But it's another to start airing episodes a week earlier than a week earlier than other countries, if not the main country in which a majority of the fan base resonates in, or resides in, I should say. And this is something that, quite honestly, they may not come out and say it, but like I said, all the analysis in the all the major analysis in the Brony and Pegasister community, in the Riff Cafe, fans like myself and others out there are kind of being a little peeved about. Because it's like, okay, we can understand that maybe this is how those networks work internationally, but you're basically allowing them to get a step ahead of things, and with the advert of social media that we have, it's a little hard for people not to get spoiled about the episode before it officially comes out here in the US. So hopefully what I think should be done in the future, hopefully they're planning to do this now anyway. I hope Hasbro listens and realizes, we need to, and DHX as well. I hope basically the people in charge of DHX Media, Hasbro, and the creative staff themselves put the foot down and at least let the other channels internationally, like Boomerrang Australia, Treehouse Canada, and what other channels internationally air the show, hopefully they will get in contact with them and put the foot down and say, look, you need to stop broadcasting these new episodes a week before they're aired here in the US. Hopefully they put the foot down like they did last year, so that when the episodes do air, they can air almost simultaneously around the same time and not ahead of each other. And again, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, Yakety Sax was aired earlier than anything. Yeah, but that was an episode that was selected as a special surprise episode. That was part of the Discovery Family Special Surprise Month. Last month in July. That's the only exception. And who's to say maybe some international versions of Discovery Family or all these international channels didn't do the same thing somewhat in July or maybe even June. We don't know. But with that said, and that being the exception, hopefully Hasbro, if they're listening, and DHX, if they're listening, and the creative staff, if they're listening, they will put their foot down before the season's out, and hopefully before the season's out, episodes can start airing simultaneously, or at least around the same time frame as here in the US, instead of being a week before as they're being shown in Australia, Canada, or any other place. Now I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because if that's how you're scheduled to do things, that's how you're scheduled to do things. It's kind of basically like, it's like with school. It's ironic that we're getting towards back to school, and tomorrow here in the Central Valley it's going to be orientation for a lot of new freshmen at high school, and and then a week later or later on this week, school starts back up. So, officially, so the school year begins. But yet other schools wait a couple of weeks before to start school, and maybe start school a couple of weeks earlier. So it's kind of like that. So I can kind of see it being like that. Like, the international channels like Boomerrang Australia are like a school district. They're airing episodes early because that's when they're scheduled to air them. Just like a school district is scheduled to reopen school for the new school season a week before, let's say, the schools here in the Central Valley. Or something like that. So I can understand it from that perspective, but as what happened last year, hopefully Hasbro, DHX, and the writing staff will at least get in contact with these people in charge of these international channels that air My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and kind of help them and kind of talk to them and get them to stop airing the new episodes before their official US release, and then maybe work something out to where they can air them simultaneously before the season's out. So yeah, that's really all I could say on it. Again, I'm not the only one that's kind of like not too fond of this, but I can understand it. And there are people that will review the episode before it comes out here officially in the U.S. But still, besides those exceptions, there's basically a fan base. There's basically a majority of the fan base that would like this to kind of be fixed in the long run before the season's out. So that's all I'm really going to say, folks, though, on that. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. Talk to y'all later.